It was the scream that woke me, a sound so sharp, it pierced my sleep. My younger sister Mara was sleeping by the window in her room, shaking. Her face was wet with tears. I had a dream, she whispered. Her voice was shaky, almost too soft to hear. I saw us all in the car. We never reached the village. I tried to calm her down. Dreams are just dreams, I told her. They don't mean anything. But deep down, I felt a knot in my stomach. Something about the way she looked, so pale, so scared, made it hard to ignore her words. The house was buzzing with excitement. It was just a day to Adha's traditional wedding, and it felt like the whole world was revolving around our family. Our living room was filled with relatives who had traveled to join us. Some sat on chairs, others on mats, chatting loudly over bowls of steaming jollof rice. Ada, you will not forget us when you become a big madam in your husband's house, so teased Uncle Chijoke, my father's cousin. Ada laughed, her loud, infectious laughter filling the room. Uncle, it's you that will not forget me when I start asking for advice on how to control my husband. The room erupted in laughter. Ada, you need the advice, so my mother chimed in, adjusting her wrapper. Bankers can be stubborn. You better learn how to handle your new husband. Ada rolled her eyes playfully. Mommy, let me go there first. Right now, I'm just praying to survive this wedding stress. I joined in the teasing. Survive, care, big sister. You've been rehearsing this bride role since you were a child. Remember how you used to wear mommy's wrap and pretend you were going to marry Prince Charming? Ada threw a pillow at me, laughing so hard she could barely speak. Eze, you will not embarrass me here. Even my father, who was usually reserved, couldn't hide his amusement. Ada, it's good you are finally getting married. Now the burden of feeding you will be someone else's problem. Daddy, Ada exclaimed, feigning shock. You mean all those times I cooked and cleaned? It wasn't enough to pay for my food? The room roared with laughter again. Later that evening, my father sat on the veranda with his close friends, inviting them formally to the wedding. They laughed loudly, discussing how Ada's marriage was proof of his success as a father. My daughter has chosen well, he said proudly. Obinna is not just a banker, he's a good man. He has respect and vision. This is what matters most. One of his friends nodded in agreement, true talk, and she will make a fine wife. Ada had always been disciplined. As they spoke, my father's phone rang. It was another relative calling from the village. Ah, yes, Chike, he said, his voice booming with excitement. You have arrived? Wonderful. Make sure everything is set at the compound. We will leave early tomorrow morning. Don't forget to slaughter the goat, oh. This is not a small event. When he hung up, he turned to us with a grin. Your Uncle Chike says everyone is already gathered in the village. They are waiting for us. This wedding will be the talk of the town. The night before we traveled, Ada called all of us into her room. She sat cross-legged on the bed, her white dress draped over a hanger by the window. Promise me one thing, she said, her face unusually serious. What is it? Amara asked. Promise me you all will dance at the wedding tomorrow. I don't care if you know the steps or not, just dance. We laughed, even Daddy. I teased. Yes, even Daddy, Ada insisted. He can just move his shoulders if he wants. But I want everyone to have fun. Deal? We all agreed, though Amara looked distracted. She hadn't spoken much since her dream. The morning of the trip was lively. My mother went around the house, double-checking everything. Eze, where are the plantains? Don't tell me you forgot to pack them, she shouted from the kitchen. They are already in the car, mommy, I replied, rolling my eyes. Ada came out of her room, looking radiant. So, how do I look? You look like a bride, my father said with a proud smile. No, Amara whispered under her breath, you look like an angel. Ada laughed. I'll take that as a compliment. We loaded the car. My father drove, with my mother in the passenger seat. Ada sat in the middle with me and Amara on either side. My younger brother Chike sat at the back with our backs. The car was packed, but no one cared. We were all excited to hit the road. The first part of the journey was smooth. We sang songs, told jokes, and talked about the wedding. Ada kept teasing me, saying I should be next to get married. I laughed and told her to focus on her big day. Then it happened. We were on a long stretch of road, surrounded by thick bushes on both sides. A truck appeared out of nowhere, swerving wildly. My father tried to avoid it, but the road was too narrow. The last thing I heard, and I remember, was the sound of metal crashing, the screams and the world turning upside down. When I woke up, everything was wrong. The world around me was spinning, my ears ringing so loudly I could barely think. There was a sharp pain in my chest and I tasted blood in my mouth. The air smelled of petrol, dust, and something metallic that made me want to vomit. It took me a moment to realize I was lying on my side. The car was on its side too. Windows shattered. The roof crushed. I couldn't move my legs and my head felt like it was splitting open. Amara, I whispered, barely able to form the word. Amara, are you okay? She was beside me, but she wasn't moving. Her eyes were open, staring blankly at the ceiling of the car. Blood trickled down her temples, soaking her dress. No, I cracked, reaching out to touch her. My hand are shaking. Amara, please, wake up. Don't do this to me. I turned my head to the front seat. My father was slumped over the steering wheel, blood pooling beneath him. My mother's hands were stretched toward him, her eyes closed as if she had fallen asleep. Ada, I screamed. I couldn't see her face, but her arm dangled lifelessly beside me. It hit me like a knife to the chest. They were all gone. All of them, my entire family. I couldn't breathe. My throat closed up as sobs rackled my body. No, 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 this can't be happening, I screamed, but my voice was hoarse, barely audible. I wanted to die right there. What was the point of living without them? What was I supposed to do now? I closed my eyes, wishing I could sleep away, wishing I could join them. Then I heard it, a faint sound like a buzzing in the distance, a phone. Someone's phone was ringing, over and over. The sound cut through the silence, dragging me back to reality. I realized it was my father's phone, still in his pocket. It must have been a relative wondering why we haven't arrived. I couldn't reach out. My hands were too weak, pinned by the crushed metal. The ringing stopped, but a few moments later, my own phone began vibrating in my pocket. With trembling hands, I managed to pull it out. The screen was cracked, but I could see the name. It was Uncle Chike. I answered, my voice barely above a whisper. Hello, Eze, where are you people? Everyone is here waiting, he said cheerfully. The words caught in my throat. How could I say it? How could I tell him? Uncle, I managed to croak, my voice breaking. There has been an accident. The car crashed. There was silence on the other end. Then his voice came back, shaky and filled with panic. What are you saying? Are you okay? Where is your father? Where is Ada? I couldn't stop the tears. They are gone, I whispered. All of them. Daddy, Mommy, Amara, Ada. They are all gone. I heard the phone dropped, followed by wailing in the background. Someone else picked up. It was my aunt. Eze, what do you mean? Please tell me it's not true, she cried. It's true, I said, my voice hollow. The truck, it hit us. They are all gone. Her scream pierced through the phone and I dropped it, unable to bear the sound. More calls came, my father's friends, relatives from the village. Each time I told them, it felt like ripping open a fresh wound. Each scream, each cry on the other end was like a dagger to my heart. Then I had to make the hardest call of all. I had to call Obina, Adha's fiancé. When he answered, his voice was full of excitement. Ese, where are you guys? Ada hasn't answered her phone and we are all waiting for you here. I couldn't speak, my throat tightened, and I felt the tears streaming down my face. Eze, are you there? He asked, sounding confused. Obina, I finally said, my voice trembling. There has been an accident. Ada, she's gone. What? He said sharply. What are you talking about? What do you mean she's gone? She's dead, I whispered. There was silence. For a moment, I thought the call had disconnected. Then I heard him gasp, followed by a choked sob. No, no, this can't be true. Please, Eze, tell me you are lying, he begged, his voice breaking. I'm sorry, I said, my tears falling uncontrollably. I'm so sorry. His cries were loud, raw, and filled with pain. I dropped the phone again, unable to listen anymore. When the rescue team finally arrived, they pulled me out of the wreckage. My legs were broken, my ribs cracked, but I didn't care. The pain in my body was nothing compared to the pain in my heart. I watched as they brought out the bodies one by one, covering them with white sheets. My mother, my father, Amara, Ada. I felt like I was dying inside. I wanted to run to them to hold them, to tell them I was sorry for surviving when they didn't. At the hospital, I stared at the ceiling, refusing to speak. The calls kept coming, but I couldn't answer anymore. All I could think about was my family, their laughter, their voices, their dreams. Now the house is empty. My world is empty. Every time I close my eyes, I see their faces, hear their laughter, and every time I open them, I'm reminded that they are gone. What am I living for now? What is left of me? Please do not forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't, in order to get notified when we upload our subsequent videos.